What's up, Kabroda crew? Welcome in. Thanks for joining the live stream. Sorry about yesterday if y'all were signing in. We had some camera issues. For some reason, I don't know. I don't know if it was an update or just I don't know what happened. The camera just basically what we use is we have a GoPro set up, and that's the camera that we use, but the way the GoPro actually works is you actually have to have software to run it as a webcam, and so for some reason the software just decided that it wasn't working yesterday. So we were trying to get it fixed, but by the time we did get it fixed, it was pretty much too late for the live stream anyway. So yeah, we had to cancel it. But we got it working today, obviously, so we're back in on it, ready to jump into the charts. Yesterday was more or less not the greatest day anyways. There's a little bit of a down trade, and that's well, a little bit of a down trade that we were kind of looking at. The system didn't call a down trade by any means, so you know, that there wasn't anything there. We were talking about the longer time frame kind of being in the downtrend, and kind of looking at you know, a little bit more of how you actually should be trading, and kind of evaluating, well, like, what's the bots say, and is it worth trading, all of that. So obviously just mostly because the whole market, I guess, is kind of in a weird position right now, with some of the longer time frames saying we're still in an uptrend, and some of the smaller ones are all kind of going more of a downtrend right now. So you know, it's kind of like, are we in the flipping stage? Are we kind of going through and flipping up as we go, or you know, what's kind of happening? And so you have the longer time frames trying to pull the chart up, you have the shorter time frames pulling the chart down. So then it's like, okay, where do you trade then? Because typically you want to have everything kind of line up before you get a nice, good trade, and that's where we've kind of been at lately with that. So yeah, we were kind of discussing that yesterday though, and we were kind of looking at the 1 hour, and with the 1 hour, you are in more of a downtrend as of right now. So you had your uptrend here. We ended up breaking that, started going down into our downtrend, flipped, started going into an uptrend here, and then right here, so we had our, say this is your lower low, like the lowest low that we had. Then we flipped price action right here, went to a long, so we have our higher low there, came down for a higher low, or higher high, sorry, and then higher low, came for another higher high, and then we sort of made a higher low here. I mean, you could count it there, it just wasn't awesome or anything. Made a higher low, and then we bounced up, higher high again, higher low there, and then higher high. Then we did have this weird price action where we actually kind of flipped it here, but then we did a massive spike to the upside, and then flipped it the other way. So it's kind of weird because we flipped technically to be more of a bearish trend, and then we flipped immediately and went for a bullish trend, and then so I don't know, maybe that was the news event or something. I don't know what happened really on Sunday that came out, but that was Sunday around what, I guess 6 o'clock or so. So I don't know, whatever happened there happened, I guess, and then we ended up flipping, coming right back down, and flipped back to being bearish again. So since this point we've been bearish. You know, we made our lower low there, we broke down below the previous higher low that we had in the uptrends. So we broke that, had a lower low, and then we came up, made our made our higher or lower high there, and then we came down for a lower low, lower high, and then yesterday's price action was kind of just a continuation of that. So we kind of knew we were going down just based off the 1 hour trends. The one thing though I will say is that the 4 hour still hasn't flipped its momentum yet. So we had really our last lower high was technically this one right here. So we had this, I guess you could say it was like more of this one. So it's kind of just within this range right here. These three different zones, which this is our gravity map kind of just laid on here. It is a day or two old, so I guess these could have changed by now, but it's just kind of within this level here that we're looking to flip on the 4 hour. Ideally, you'd want to come down below here if you're going to see the trend flip. But yeah, so anyways, I guess all that to say we're still in a long-term bullish move on the 4 hour. But if you're looking for the longer term on the 1 hour, you actually are flipping here, or you have flipped, and now we're looking for more of a bearish run. And typically you want to take trades within the bias. And you know, we have our video coming out here at 10. It'll be talking about all of this stuff in more detail, but yeah, essentially you want to take trades that are along with trends. So we were kind of like, well, what's that look like, you know, here on times like this when it's, you know, trends kind of arguing with each other. And what we kind of figured is, you know, since we're trading the 15, you're better off trading the 1 hour trend, but since you don't have that 4 hour trend behind you, you really want to take smaller trades. You want to get out faster. You're not holding stuff for a while, so you might get a grade A, but you still take everything. You take 100% at target 1 or something like that. So that's basically the idea behind it. That's what we kind of decided on, I guess, for our system at least. And you know, we're still keeping the bot the exact same what it is. It's hard for the bot to be coded in to kind of read that price action on the longer time frames, and so yeah, it kind of just goes up to the trader. That's more of a trader mindset. You know, that's where I guess humans are always going to be better at reading that kind of stuff than AI, because AI just has a hard time when it's not exact coding, you know. So yeah, that's what we were kind of looking at yesterday, though. So there was a down trade. Wasn't anything fantastic. Not really. We had, you know, a little drop. We went to actually target 2 of this move. So if you take the high that we had and then you take the low that we had to break for it to be a downtrend, then you have target 2 there. But you know, we don't want to run that all the time. That's just kind of a random number on there. So we'll take our lines from yesterday. If you draw that down, you could have made about target 1 here. So you know, that was pretty good. That was about a 1.5, I believe, if you're looking at it here. Get a short there. Yeah, 1.5, around to 1.5. So not too bad. I mean, pretty good trade, honestly. And then you would have just pulled 100% there. And yeah, it did drop a little bit lower, but you know, overall, if you just took target 1, took 100%, you would have been happy. That's kind of what we're getting after. Today is looking a little different, so we'll go ahead and grab the lines here and throw them on there and see what we think about today. So head on to the website. You can see we got a grade A today for Ethereum, so we'll check that out here in a minute. But we're going to start off with that BTC. We'll grab the levels here and throw them onto our chart. Whoops. Don't want to close everything down. All right, so grabbing our new levels here, throw them in there. So these are our new levels. I'll grab our gravity map too. And this is our gravity map indicator we've been testing. So, you know, it might be released sometime. But right now it's just more of a testing phase. And that's kind of what we're looking at for today. So if you're checking out the charts, this is what we're seeing. And, you know, it kind of lines up with a nice it lines up pretty much with a little bit of a flag kind of forming. So you know, we're not really pattern traders, but if you were looking at this as a pattern trader, you'd be looking at something like that, with a little bull flag forming, or sorry, not a bull flag. You're looking at a bear flag forming. I believe that's called some kind of pendant or something like that. Have them over here on the wall. You're looking at a rising wedge. That's what they call that one. So you have your top, your bottom. You draw the flag down here. You got 77,000 is basically the target for today. That would actually flip us to be in that 4-hour downtrend that we were talking about. So it would be interesting if we saw that play out, because that'd kind of flip us into more of a downtrend mindset. Then, you know, we'd be looking at more shorts, and actually the shorts would probably get pretty good because you're having the 4-hour flip to being more bearish with the 1 hour, and they're kind of working together now. So it could be interesting if we got that to happen. You know, will it drop down that far? I don't know. We'll see. You know, obviously with the pattern, it makes sense, with the target and everything. If you looked at it with our levels, let's see, where are we saying we could drop down to? So really kind of just this level again. It's nothing really that interesting, I guess, in terms of with our levels. So you could drop down, you just drop down to this level down here. Kind of interesting how our level's set up today, with the 30-minute range kind of be closer to the top. That is interesting there. The other thing that's interesting is how tight the two levels are. I mean, you only have a little over a 0.69% gap. That's honestly not a huge gap between the two lines. So we'll see what happens here as the day kind of goes on, but that is really tight gap for the two lines. In terms of gaps between the triggers and then the both the resistance and the support, it's not looking too great. You got a 0.4 between these two, and then you probably got like a 0.3 or less on these two. So really nothing great. You know, we look for 0.5 or more. Back when we used to trade those more, that's what we'd look for. Now we don't really look at those as much, but still, I guess, nice to kind of know. So yeah, overall, you know, we're still looking at a downtrend. Could it run up today? Yeah, it absolutely could. But we're not going to be looking at that, and the reason is because we are in that downtrend. Overall, you know, on the 1 hour, we're in that downtrend, and yes, the 4 hour is still technically bullish. But with the 1 hour being in a downtrend, you're expecting price to continue lower more than you're expecting it to flip and go up. Now, could it flip and go up? Absolutely, and the system could still fire to the upside. If you're looking at trading as probabilities, your probability is a lot lower when you don't have anything behind you. Like if you don't have the 1 hour and the 4 hour behind you, your probability is way lower. Now it still is lower right now because, you know, like I said, we don't have that 4 hour behind us, so we just have the 1 hour. So our probability is lower, but it's not absolutely like so low where you don't want to trade it. If we're trying to go up though, having the 4 hour at your back and not having the 1 hour is just something we've kind of figured, you know, okay, that's all right. You could trade it to the upside. It's about the same, I guess, level wise. Like I think it was Monday. Here, we'll go back and I'll show you all. I believe it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. So Monday we had a little bit of an up run. If you took the up run, you would have made about a 1-to-1 again. And I believe we took this actually. And the only thing is you had just flipped bearish. So looking at it now, it's kind of like, oh man. But you know, we took the trade. You go up. You're running with the 4 hour technically, but the 1 hour isn't at your back anymore. And it only ran up to a 1-to-1. So kind of the same as we were talking about with the downside trade on yesterday. So overall, it's just something we've been kind of looking at, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of where the chart is at today. So really, we're looking for the down trade. like I said, you could technically look at the uptrade. The system's not calling anything for either way really today. The downtrade would be something I would be more interested in, I guess, for sure. I probably wouldn't even look at even paper trading the uptrade, honestly, even if it played out, because it's not looking very likely, and it's not a nice looking trade right now. And that's kind of why with the longer term time frames. So we'll actually let's go set up Ethereum and kind of see where the trade is on there, and kind of evaluate the 4 hour and the 1 hour on there, and then we'll see what happens. So we'll open up our stuff here, we'll grab our triggers, and we'll head back to the trading view so we can go and put them in our indicator here. And this is what we're looking at. It's loading. There we go. So we got pretty close to the same looking thing. Ethereum though has kind of had some different price action, so we kind of dropped out, and we've been running sideways for a little bit. I think even all of yesterday we were really running sideways. Let's see. Oh, yesterday we did have a drop in the morning, and then ran sideways. So pretty much the same, I guess, as Bitcoin looks. Yeah, I mean they're pretty close. Bitcoin definitely has more of a micro uptrends. So like obviously you're in the macro downtrend from the 1 hour, but this micro uptrend, so price action is kind of trying to run up here, and we kind of broke our last lower high before we flipped here. So micro uptrends, that would be the flag though that I was talking about. So you have your micro uptrends, and then typically you'll flip that and break that uptrend, and you'll go to the downside. That's essentially what all flags are anyways. So yeah, anyways, here on Ethereum it's kind of the same thing, but it's just not as much of an uptrend here. Definitely more or less the same looking thing, but definitely with price action right now it's not quite as high. It's more sideways than Bitcoin for sure. Yeah, let's evaluate that 4 hour and the 1 hour. So we'll start off that 4 hour. I'm gonna close my RSI here. Crazy trade to the upside. Alright, so if we're looking at the price action here, we had our up move, we had our higher high, lower high, or higher low, and then higher high, and then we broke down. This is where we flipped to be more bearish. So we had our higher high there, and then we had a lower low, lower high. Well, actually this one doesn't count. This one would count, lower high, because after, what you want to look for is after you make your higher or lower high, you need to confirm it's actually a lower high. It needs to make a lower low. And so this one doesn't count because we just came down and we actually ended up making a higher low. So all of this price action is kind of just, just doesn't count in terms of what we're looking at here. So then this one here, we break down and we make a lower low here. So that one counts. This is a lower high and then your lower low. So this is just a nothing price action. And then we come back up. Kind of longer time frames, we actually end up breaking trends here, kind of trying to flip to the upside. So we do make a higher high there, so just interesting. And then we make a lower high or a higher low, but this one doesn't count because when you come up here, you, instead of making a higher high again, so coming up even higher here, we actually end up doing the opposite. So we make our lower high, and that's kind of the start of the downtrend, because then you make a lower low there, and you come up here, make a lower high, and then obviously another lower low, and then now we're kind of trading up a little bit. So we'll see what happens, but we are in a downtrend here on Ethereum just because of that. So if you're looking at it overall, we are in a downtrend here on the 4 hour on Ethereum. 1 hour, probably going to be playing the same kind of story. So obviously we had the downtrend here. We have our uptrend starting. Kind of not as great price action, but more or less these are all sideways. But you could say, you know, this is your low, then your high, low, high, and that's our uptrend there. And then we flip right here. We break this low right here, basically same kind of thing as Bitcoin. You make another high, another low, and then we just continue. So this one doesn't even count, actually. It's this one. It's your low, and then you make your high, and then your low is down there. So we are in a downtrend overall here, with your downtrends, well, technically starting there and go down. That's kind of more or less what's happening. So you can see just, yeah, that downward slope. And if you do it right, we are in a downtrend. But like I said, yeah, we do have a video coming out kind of covering that more at 10. So if you guys want to check out that a little more in-depth video, it does go over yesterday's price action, but it's going over yesterday's price action, kind of teaching about that kind of stuff. So yeah, downtrend on the 4 hour, downtrend on the 1 hour on Ethereum, and then the 15-minute is setting up pretty nicely for a downtrend. Interestingly enough, the 30-minute range is kind of in between the two. So, you know, on Bitcoin, we're looking at it's actually pretty close to the top range. And, you know, you're like, why do you mention that? Typically, when you see this, as far as we've been kind of trading this system, when you see the 30-minute range form near one of the sides, you typically see it go to that side. So if it's near the top, you're going to go up. If it's near the bottom, you go down. And, you know, the more we've kind of dug into it, it's more because of the fib line. So typically when you, obviously price is kind of random right now, but let's say, you know, you have your range here. So we flipped price action right here technically. So you have your range, your low here, and then you have your high here when you flipped price action. So you flipped to be up, bullish in the macro trend, that is, or no, sorry, not macro, the micro trend, that is. So like instead of like your big like 1 hour trend, you have your small little price action on the 15-minute. That's what we're looking at. So you flip to be bullish technically. So right here, because we flipped the previous lower high there. So we were coming down here, and then that was the last lower high. You flipped that right here, so that would be your trend. And then when you look at this, one level that's technically not a fib level, but it does matter a lot, is the 0.5. So just like basically the middle line between your two fib levels, between your top and bottom. And then when you look at price action, whatever side it sits on most of the time is the side that's going to go to. So this is how you normally draw it. For our levels, though, we've noticed it works too. So you can actually just draw them between our two levels. And then when you look at that, you can look at the 0.5, and whatever side the price action is sitting on more of the time than it's not is typically where you're going to see price action go. And it kind of confirms that when you kind of see a little micro bear trend start to form within that, and then you'll see that price action kind of trade out to whatever side. So, you know, if you're looking at it right now, we have more downside within our range. Obviously, if you drew it to the full range, we're more actually to the upside. But if you use our range, we're looking more to the downside. You have less price action on top. You're starting to see that little very micro downtrend start to form here. So obviously, well, I guess technically it's not even forming yet on the micro downtrend, because this would be the low. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. But yeah, typically when you see price action a lot below the 0.5, it'll run down. And that's why that 30-minute range really matters. Because typically when you see the 30-minute range forming, it's kind of showing you what side of that 0.5 price action has been on most of the time. So like, I bet if we drew it on Bitcoin, it's going to be more to the upside today. And I mean, obviously you can kind of just tell that looking at it, but yeah, we draw it here. We've had some price action here. We're above it. below it, above it, below it, above it, and then kind of spike below it. So, you know, overall you're spending more time above it. You know, it's pretty even actually within this these ranges, but it's definitely been above it more than it has been below it. So technically you'd break to the upside is the idea with that one. However, like we said, we are in that downtrend. You know, we're looking for more. We're looking more for a downtrade than we are for an uptrade. It's still possible to get an uptrade. You know, it's not completely out of the cards. It's just, you know, probability wise, you're more likely to go down is I guess what we're looking at. So yeah, that's kind of there. That's the system for today. You know, there's nothing really on BTC. Like I said, you could go up, could go down. If it starts to break down and our system starts to call it, that's where we'd be looking at it. Possibly taking a trade. Sorry, not our actual market radar system is not going to call it today. Obviously, it's already said it's just going to be more sideways. But with the checklist of our system of kind of breaking the triggers and going to the downside, getting the close in the 15-minute below, that would be kind of where you'd enter if you're going to take a down trade. That would be more something that we'd look at today. Obviously, is the down trade. So that's what I was saying, I guess. But on Ethereum, it has actually fired to the downside, or actually, sorry, not fired, but the market radar has told us that we're going to go to the downside. So if we head to Kabroda.com, we can grab the trade here, and we'll throw it on the chart, and we can see what it looks like here. So head on to Ethereum, grab our trade there, throw it into our indicator, and this is kind of what we're looking at. So got a short going on, got our, obviously you get in on the break of, or break and close below the 15 levels that we have for the day. Throwing your stop up a little bit higher today. So the typical range that you'd throw the stop at is right above the 30-minute range, but with the battle box that we've been working on, it actually throws it a little bit higher due to gravity walls, basically. So our gravity map that we have on our website has different walls and stuff. It's essentially a bunch of different things go into it, but it's essentially a liquidity map. So yeah, we have some kind of liquidity level here. So you have some kind of resistance or support, whatever you want to call it, depending on which side it's on, price action's on. Right now it's below it, so it's going to be resistance there. But we have a resistance point up here, and essentially the stop is just going to get thrown right above it, and that's kind of how the system works. So that's the reason is a little bit away from the 30-minute range, is probably because there's some kind of level pretty close to that 30-minute range, and it wants to throw our stop just a little bit above it, to where if price action does come up and there's that resistance wall there, if it does come up and kind of slam into it, maybe push past it just a little bit, you don't want to have your stop right on top of it where you get kicked out. You'd rather be a little bit up, a little bit farther, so then when it does come up, it kind of smashes into the wall. Maybe comes through it just a tiny bit, but it's not going to hit your stop because your stop's far enough away from it that it won't be able to hit it. Obviously, you know, the idea of your stop is that if it does break that resistance line, then you are getting out on that stop. But it's just kind of protect you from, if it does come up, you know, and hit it and maybe come through it just a little bit and then break back down, you don't want to get out just because of that. So that's the reason we have our stop out a little bit. But this is kind of the trade today. So more or less, you could trade it to that target one. The one thing I will say, you know, we have technically it's a grade A, so you take 30% at target 1 and then trade to target 2 or target 3 with 70%. But typically altcoins will actually follow Bitcoin. So if you're looking at the chart overall and you're kind of using BTC as your indicator, you know BTC, the 4 hour is kind of is trying to go up, and you know the 1 hour is trying to go down. And obviously we don't know what the 15 minutes doing yet, but if you're looking at, wow, we're could be in the trade right now. You don't want to be, I guess the idea is if Bitcoin is kind of having that fight there, Ethereum is set up to go, and the trade's great, looks great for the downside trade. We just got our close below, so that's definitely, we'll say we took that right there. Actually, let's throw that into our stuff here. Give me a second. I'm gonna throw this into my stuff. Basically, what I was saying though is, you got Bitcoin, which is a pretty big indicator when you're looking in terms of, when you're just looking at the two different, you're looking at Ethereum and you're looking at Solana. Bitcoin really kind of drives price for both of those. Like if Bitcoin's going to decide to go up today, then Ethereum's going to have a hard time going down, even though it is in a downtrend. So if Bitcoin's kind of fighting on the longer terms and you don't know which way it's going to go, you're better off just kind of, taking some good profit on Ethereum when it does go down, because, it's there. So maybe a better idea for today would be to look at doing maybe a 70-30 on our system, instead of doing, sorry, I guess that doesn't really make sense, but instead of doing a 30% at 1 and then 70% at 2 or 3, I guess, I think it'd be better probably to do a 70% at 1 and then 30% at the lower ranges. If you do really want to run it, I guess you could even just do 100% at 1. And obviously, we're just here for educational advice, but that's just kind of where my brain would be at. That's what I'd be kind of be thinking, especially with BTC. And I don't know, it is interesting price action here on BTC too. Interesting that Ethereum wants to break down so bad, but Bitcoin's trying to actually break to the upside here on its trade. Stay down. Yeah, sorry. The dogs want to get petted. Yeah, that's kind of the trade today though. That's what we're looking at. So, we did get the close. So technically, we're in this thing. Got the paper trade on. It's ready to go. And we'll see how that plays out. We can kind of talk about it, tomorrow, or sorry, not tomorrow. We can talk about it on Monday or Tuesday. We can talk about it on Tuesday when we're back on the live stream. And 8:30, we'll be back on here talking about it again. I guess, God willing, if everything works out. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. See what happens here on price action for today. See if we can get this thing to work out in our favor. But right now, kind of just hanging out, waiting for it to drop down. It is paper trades on, but now it's just waiting game. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, thank y'all for coming. Thanks for joining. Hopefully that helped y'all learn maybe a little bit. Maybe y'all learned something. If you did learn something, just drop a like for us. Give us a little thumbs up. And if you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button too, so you can learn more. Hit the bell notification if you're interested in catching our videos more often. We do, like I said, we do have that video coming out at 10. So if you're interested in that, it'll be a great watch. Maker made it for us, so always a good time listening to his TA and kind of just learn from him, seeing what you can glean from that. So yeah, thanks for joining again, though. We will catch y'all next time. Happy trading to y'all. Yeah, have a good weekend.